Hi, welcome back to Good Neighbors Getting It Done in Western New York. I'm Kathleen King. In this episode, I take you to Lockport for a bipartisan town hall. Democrat Aaron Gies and Republican Jim King come together to have a discussion moderated by Jenn Borgioli of Braver Angels. The idea is to get people together from different sides of the aisle to realize that they need to work together in order to get out of the mess that we're in, and that we have much more in common than we have to fight about. I am hoping that if this platform goes well, we will take it all through the 23rd District. We do have another stop in South Wales in a few days. That portion of the town halls will be in a different episode because those are going to be more about policy questions. This one is just an introduction. I hope you enjoy it.
I will start with an introduction. My name is Jennifer. I'm representing a group called Braver Angels tonight. And Braver Angels is a group, it's a national organization dedicated to civic conversations, the goal of which is to bring together people who lean to the right, who we call Reds, together with people who lean towards the left, we call Blues. So at this point, we're going to sit. So Jen's going to go ahead and give everyone about a 2 to 3 minute introduction about who he is.
As she said, or I said, I'm on the right a bit, but I'm in the very middle of the right. I'm what I call a moderate Republican or a traditional Republican. One of the questions that everybody asks right off the bat is, why do you want to be a congressman? And the answer is, because I can't abide the current congressman. He's not representing us, you and me. And that I would dearly like somebody who's 40 years younger than I am to be doing that, but it's not fun. I would be a better congressman. Nick has shown himself to be a stooge of a vindictive president who's day by day and step by step is trying to be a dictator. He's legislating by executive orders. He's taking, and Nick is just endorsing all of that stuff. He's an anti-traditional Republican from my viewpoint. A traditional Republican believes in a fair marketplace in place, safe community, and a stable future. And Nick has not shown himself to be in favor of any of those things. In terms of the fair marketplace, he's endorsing the president's wild terrorist schemes, and he's calling things like our affordability issues a hoax. He's endorsing that. And if any of you have looked at your bills recently in terms of groceries or gasoline or healthcare in particular, you'll know that it's not a hoax. He's abandoned our Constitution, his oath to the Constitution. One of the things of the traditional Republican Party is abiding by the rule of law. He is far from that. And the other traditional values that we could talk about later, but we don't have time. The real issues today, and you'll hear it on the news, and I'm betting that we haven't coordinated our speeches. But I'm betting Aaron's going to talk about affordability and opportunity, but those are the big issues for me: affordability and opportunity. Nick voted for a $3 trillion increase in our national debt. And let me tell you what that means to you and to me. When we pay our taxes in 2025, this year, 25 cents of every dollar that we put in is going towards paying for the current national debt. That's way too much. Nick's $3 trillion increase means that in 2026, the taxes will be, your $1 tax is going to be paying about 30 cents for the national debt. And a year later, 35 cents. That's this one increase. That's anti-traditional Republic. The other thing he's done is applaud the dismantling of our government institutions that provide opportunity for the future, enhance the opportunity for the future. And we can talk more about that later too. But that without opportunity, Americans lose hope, and we have to believe that our kids are going to be doing better than we are, and that's just not likely with what's going on today.
Well, thank you, Jen and Braver Angels. Thank you, good neighbors. Thank you, all of you, for coming. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Gies. I'm 44 years old. I'm an assistant professor of theology at St. Bonaventure University, and that's doing that job. Dealing with students from all kinds of backgrounds and all walks of life has given me a deep respect for the institution's values of compassion and integrity and wisdom. Those aren't just institutional boilerplate that we put on our website. Those are values that I work through with real people every day, and I strive to make them virtues in my life. So sometimes I'm asked, what makes a career academic think that they're qualified to be in Congress? I think that we have enough career politicians in Congress. What we need now are leaders who care more about people than politics. Leaders who listen first, who understand that leadership is about service and not self-promotion, and leaders who work tirelessly for regular people and fight the corrupting influence of money. I'm running because this district deserves a representative who wakes up every morning thinking about your needs. Not the needs of a national party, not the needs of wealthy donors, and certainly not the needs of the online outrage machine. I didn't come into this race with ties to special interests or a political career to protect. And that is the advantage of, not being a career politician. I come with a commitment to serve, to learn, and to help our communities thrive. So Nick Langworthy, as Jim was saying, is a career politician. In fact, he's never had a real job outside of politics. Like any career politician, his priority is to stay in office. And that has meant supporting all of Donald Trump's policies, no matter how bad they are for his district and his constituents. So farm-killing tariffs, healthcare cuts that threaten our hospitals to pay for tax cuts for the rich, stonewalling accountability for government corruption, blocking the release of the Epstein files. It doesn't seem like there's any policy that he won't sign off on if the boss says to sign off. And if you don't like it, and I'll bet some of you don't like it, good luck getting in touch with him to tell him about it. He doesn't do public events. He doesn't publish his schedule even after the fact. So you can't just not know where he's going to be. You can't know where he's been. So how do you know if he's working for you? You don't. He's so afraid of accountability that he doesn't even announce his talk radio town halls until the day before. In fact, how many of you know that he's doing one right now? Just a few of you. And you are some of the most engaged folks in politics. He canceled it? Why?
He doesn't.
He canceled it. He canceled it. He'll catch you next month. Don't worry about it. Oh, boy. If we want to keep our farms, keep our hospitals, keep our voice in our government, if we want to build durable prosperity that revives struggling communities and hands our children something better, we must do better than Nick Langworthy.
So one of the goals when we do a Braver Angels event is not so much particular policy decisions, but how the candidates plan on engaging with us, the constituents. So the first question I want to ask, and Aaron, you touched on this a bit, that being ignored by your representative is probably one of the most frustrating things, especially for the folks in this room. And I'm sure all of us have gotten the same form letter, over and over again. keep sending the exact same form letter in response. So I'd like to ask either one of you, and you're up and have a conversation amongst yourselves, is how will you work to make sure that we all feel heard? If elected, you'll be representing one of the reddest districts in Congress. You will have a room full of many people who are angry blues, or people, who are passionate Democrats and want to be heard. So what steps will you take to make sure your constituents feel heard?
Well, the first thing is real live town halls like this.
Yeah.
That's the simple thing. The other is answer the mail. I don't know if you've ever written to Congressman Langworthy. The answer that you'll get to almost any question you have is pulled from a list of 5 things that may be close to the question you asked. It would be much better to actually repeat the question and say what you believe, or and the answer can be no. I'm a believer in being able to say no when it's appropriate. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. So town halls are definitely job one, in-person town halls around the district. So we were talking about Tom Reed, former congressman from the 23rd, before this started. And Tom Reed, pretty far right Republican, pro-Trump Republican, but he was accessible. He went out of his way to be accessible. He did 6 weekends of town halls a year, with 3 town halls in a weekend all over the district. That's a grueling schedule, but he knew that he needed to hear from his constituents, even if it meant they were just going to yell at him about stuff they didn't like. I want to say one more thing about staying in touch. He's on Facebook, but nobody can talk to him on Facebook. Social media is supposed to be a communication tool, right? A two-way street. And I'm using TikTok a lot in the campaign. I'm not just doing that to get votes. I'm doing it to build a tool through which I can communicate with potential constituents so that people can get in touch and hear from me.
So for both of you, if you're elected, you will be stepping into and following one of the quantitatively most ineffective Congresses in American history. The least amount of bills passed, the least amount of things accomplished. So you will be stepping into dysfunction. So I'm curious, how do you, as yourself, who is not, with no political background, but stepping in, so you're going to say more about your background, what steps are you planning on taking to ensure you don't contribute to new dysfunction? What are your plans for helping to get us back on track?
Hey, first,
Please.
well, you have to talk to the other side for one thing. Civil conversation. Remember, equals
Just over there again.
their list of how to go about doing that is a good way to start. All right, that's the key thing. I'm old enough to remember when the freshman congressman went to the same orientation, and Newt Gingrich was the beginning of the end of that. When he became leader of the House, he separated the parties, and that has just cascaded. And the answer to that is go around and introduce yourself to everybody, okay, both sides, and say, let's talk.
Yep. So that's certainly right. I would also say that part of what's wrong with Congress is the executive branch. So the imperial presidency means that the party who has the presidency sees themselves as an instrument of the president's will. And so Congress is only interested in doing things that the president wants them to do. Or if you read the Constitution, Congress is really supposed to be the branch that's in charge. And the president is the one that sort of carries out the will of the legislators. We've gone very, very far from that. But beginning to reel that back in a bit would require some democratic reforms, limiting the influence of money in politics, for example, and perhaps changing how districts are represented in Congress by reapportionment, for example.
So a follow-up question for you. My hunch is there's going to be people who would like to vote for you as a Democrat, who believe in what you're saying, who are frustrated with Nick. I say that as if Nick and I are friends with Representative Langworthy. And their fear is, though, they'd be giving up power if they're no longer represented by Mr. Langworthy. So one of their concerns for voting for you is that you'd be a freshman blue in a red district. And I'm curious, how would you assure conservative-leaning members of the 23rd that they're just as safe in your hands as they would be, as they think, in Mr. Langworthy's hands?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, we have to talk about issues. We'd have to talk about rural issues managing the economy, rule of law, sort of nuts and bolts, constituent service kind of stuff. They would have to trust me on that. So that's my job. But I actually think that's kind of backwards. I mean, what you have now is a representative who feels so safe that he has no accountability to his district. So he can just afford to do what the boss wants. His policies right now are hurting farmers, who are some of the most conservative folks in the district. He's driving them out of business. If you had a frontline Democrat in this district, that person would be someone that the congressional leadership would have to protect, right? So they would have to let them be independent to a degree. Let them represent their district. Let them, not vote the party line all the time, which means that, a Democrat in this district could actually represent the district more faithfully, I think, than someone who always has to vote the party line.
Probably. The other side of that is if you're in a safe district, which this is actually, the 23rd is actually changing. The incorporation of Tioga County, the small county at the eastern end of the district where I come from, has a very active set of Democrats that you would be holding to. I would be holding to. That's for sure, because the district is at risk right now, I think, and that's a blessing. That's really a good thing, because as a freshman, doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. As a freshman, you're going to be tested to start with by your party leadership, and if you're showing signs of independence, which I probably would, my committee assignments might not be the best. But you can make a difference in there. You can make noise, and you can have press conferences, and you can hear what people are saying and repeat them more loudly for them.
So if I could mention, one of the things that we learn in Brave Random Conversations, a lot of time people have stereotypes about, all Republicans think this way, all progressives think this way. So there may come a point where you win the primary, and there may be Democrats who want to vote for you because, they don't want to, and they may choose to independents or, Republicans may vote for you in the primary. How will you reassure people who want to vote for you, who do lean to the left, that you're not, I don't want to say not a member of the right, but you're not a stereotype of what people think the right is?
Right. I am very much in the middle. I live in a mixed marriage. My wife's an avid Democrat, so I know how to talk to Democrats. The thread of this is
yes. The idea is, how can you reassure people who aren't to the right that you also will listen to Democrats, that you're not a
look at my website, look at my platform. I actually have a platform, which Nick does not. Other than I'm beholden to Donald Trump. Go look at that. Look at my understanding of critical issues. What I mean when I talk about political terms. I'm willing to put that out there and live by it. And that's the short answer to a much longer answer.
And do you mind, what's your website? Where can people find your platform?
My business cards are over there, but it's King, the number 4, New York, NY, 23.com. King4NewYork23.com.
The last question is going to be with regards to the idea of pressure. So if either of you are voted in, at some point the whip is going to come to your office and say, there's going to be a vote tomorrow on the floor. Here's how we expect you to vote. Mm-hmm. And whatever you do is going to be your decision, but you're going to get calls from constituents, we're going to say, and there's going to be a lot of pressure from that whip to vote a particular way. We saw it happen today with a vote in amongst senators. There's going to be a lot of pressure. So without diving too deeply into how you plan to stand up to that pressure, because that's a personal decision, what are your plans for communicating with your constituents when you make a decision that your whip has asked you to do? And any thoughts on how you want to negotiate those tensions?
Well, first off, it's easy for me because I'm planning on being a one-term congressman. so that kind of the pressure that a whip could bear is limited. I'll put it that way. There are other things that they can do besides saying you're not going to get any money to help your campaign. But the real answer to that question is I'm a firm believer in saying exactly why I do things, and that's part of the engineering world where I come from. You've got to be able to justify where you are and why you made that decision. And I'm willing to write that down and put it out there.
Yep. I mean, it's a similar answer. So as an academic, I also take pride in trying to explain myself fully. And as a theologian, the ground of my decision making is fact based, but also ethical. I'm very interested in the question of, is this good for people? Is this the right thing to do? Which I think that not everyone in Congress is always asking.
So what you've heard is just kind of some general questions about in terms of relating to constituents, in terms of the communication. And they will be facing, regardless of if one is elected, an uphill battle, because we are the 23, we are a very red district. So this was our goal with this little first part, was to introduce some ways of thinking about how Braver Angels engages in politics. We have some cards on the table, which you're of course welcome to take if you're interested in the Braver Angels project. Everyone is welcome. And at this point, we're going to take a 5-minute stretch break. We're going to pass out cards, and you can write your questions on the cards, and then we will ask those questions directly of the candidates. They can be policy questions, they can be specific questions, or anything you're interested in asking the two candidates. All right.